Hello there, welcome to my YouTube channel Saint Nightingale. In this tutorial video, I'm going to be showing you how I recreated this Bubu embroidery dress with fringe for my client. Let's go. So first off, what I did was to cut out the neckline and the back area. I already sent this to another vendor to design the embroidery that you can now see on the neckline. If you want to learn how I cut this neckline, you can watch my other tutorial videos on how to cut a Bubu dress. So let's proceed to this particular style. Then I went on, as you can see, I already spread this piece of cloth on the floor. As you can see, I went on to mark the back measurement. From the center point, I traced out the back measurement, which is 14 inches divided by 2 is 7, and that's where you can see me marking 7 inches. Then the sleeve measurement I'm going to be working with is 18 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance, because I'm working with 1 inch sewing allowance when turning in. So turning that twice will give me 20 inches. So I marked out 20 inches from the back measurement or the shoulder measurement on both sides of the fabric. Then in this next frame, I went to get the full length. So first of all, I got the full length that I'm working with, 59 inches, and I marked 59 inches on this piece of fabric across this line. You see me using my long ruler to trace out that 59 inches that I had marked from the left part of the fabric to the right part of the fabric. You can decide to mark your complete length that you'll be working with, which is that bend on the side. But for me, I wanted to first of all cut out my own full length and then use what I've cut out as the area that I'll be working with. So from that point, from the starting point of the fabric downwards, I marked 59 inches, and that's what I'm doing now. So afterwards, I picked up my long ruler now and connected the lines that I've marked across the fabric. I did that on the left and I'm doing that on the right. As you can see, the placement of the long ruler. I had to give this aerial view so you can see the full view of the fabric. The fabric is is a lot, and I had to give this very wide shot so that you can see all the areas that I'm working with. So I'm cutting this through now. So after cutting through now, I picked up my measuring tape to get the center point of this measurement, right? The center point of this measurement is 31 inches, because putting my measuring tape, I got 62 inches. So I've marked 31 inches on that point, and then I'm going to go again from the shoulder downwards to mark 43 inches. I'm using 43 inches because if you can remember the style, it has like an inverted V at the center point, right? So, and it goes all the way down like a slope. So I'm marking 43 inches across. It will be initially 42 inches, but because I'm adding my 1 inch sewing allowance, because when I turn this in, I'm going to be using the half an inch turning allowance, which will give me 43 inches. So that's why I've marked 43 inches on the fabric. I'm using my long ruler now. I'm also connecting the dots again. Alright, so after doing this now, I'm just going to use my long ruler to get the center point again in that space that I'll be working with. Then I went on again to mark 3 inches away, because when I marked my 20 inches allowance at the top for the sleeves, I was left with 3 inches excess on the left and on the right. So I picked up my scissors to trim out the 3 inches away from the left and the right part of the material. Remember, after getting my shoulder measurement, which is 14 inches on that fabric, dividing it by 7, dividing it by 2 will give me 7 inches. So from that point where I got my 7 inches, I marked 20 inches, bearing in mind my 2 inches sewing allowance on the left and on the right. And I'm going over to the other side again to cut that part out. The excess that I won't be needing for this design. So now I'm done cutting the excess. I just want to make that part straighten, because I noticed it's not straight. Afterwards, I picked up my measuring tape again and then measured from the shoulder downwards to get 50 inches, which is where the slope will stop. So I placed my measuring tape. Remember, I took out 43 inches at first. So I placed for 3 inches on that first line that I had marked out 50 inches and went across. Based on your model or whoever it is that you'll be sewing for, you have to factor in. I mean, you ask me why 42 inches. 42 inches is the lower knee measurement. I mean, just by the lower knee of the person is 42 inches. And also 49 inches, or rather 50 inches, is the measurement just above the ankle. 3 inches above the ankle. I'm going to be working with 49 inches, which will almost give us like this 3/4 measurement for the person. So depending on who exactly you're working with, that will determine these numbers that I'm calling. I decided to work with 42 inches because that's the shoulder to the lower knee measurement, under the knee, and 49 inches, which is some inches away from the 3/4 measurement and some inches away from the ankle measurement, about 3 to 4 inches from the ankle measurement. I'm cutting out 50 inches because I've also added 1 inch sewing allowance for that part, so that when I turn it in, I will get my 49 inches. So I started cutting from the center point and I traced it downwards towards the part that I've marked the 50 inches. So remember, in short form, it's 43 inches, and then the longer part of the fabric is 50 inches. All is bearing in my 1 inch sewing allowance when I turn this fabric in. So I picked out the part that I cut out and placed it on the other part to also trim it out or trace it out, so that I get the equal pattern on the left and on the right, and one part is not longer or shorter than the other. And like I also mentioned, just make sure that your measurement also factors in the full length of the person that you're working with. I worked with the shoulder to the lower knee measurement for the short part of this dress, and about 3-4 inches above the ankle of the person wearing this to get where the slope stops. So I'm done cutting now. Let me show you what this looks like, giving you the overview of what this cutout now looks like. And this is it. You can see the curve and you can see the neckline. So now let's proceed to the sleeves area. So from the start line of this fabric downwards, you place your measuring tape and mark 9 inches, which is where your which will form as the round sleeve for the person who will be wearing this. Where the hand will pass through. Depending on what you want, you can either make it 9 inches or wider, depending on the choice that you have made for the round sleeve measurement for this person. So I went on to place my measuring tape and also mark the area that will form that. So now we're on the machine. Now you remember that I said you mark where you'll be turning in, which will form the round sleeve measurement that you'll be using, and so that's the point that I'm trying to turn in. You remember I mentioned that I'm going to be using 1 inch sewing allowance twice, so I flipped 1 inch and I'll flip again, as you can see, and then sew it downwards from the marking that I have made. In total it will be about 18 inches for the front and from the back. So for the front part, that's like 9 inches, for the back 9 inches, together that's 18 inches. So because of the marking that I've done, I'm trying to trace from the start point of the marking to the end point of the marking for the round sleeve measurement, or the sleeves area. So I've done that part. Now I'll flip over again and do the same for the left part of the fabric. So remember, I flipped over once, 1 inch, and flipped again twice to give me my 2 inches sewing allowance, which at the end of the day will bring us back to 18 inches shoulder to wrist measurement. I'm working with 3/4 now. So now I'm going to sew this down. Remember I said I added 1 inch sewing allowance for the lower part of the fabric, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So I'm turning this now by 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and I'm going to sew following the curve or the line that I've cut this out to look like. So now let's sew through. Because of the volume of the fabric, it tends to slip away from the machine, so you have to be very very careful, so you don't make errors. So I'm sewing this now and I'm done with the first part. I picked up the second part again. I'm also cross-checked that the part that you're turning in is the right part, and I flipped over by a half an inch and passed through the sewing machine again to sew through. So after sewing through, we're going to the ironing board to press this open. I mean the parts that have been sewn first. I turned it to the wrong part and then pressed it with the iron. Pressed to flatten out the part that I turned in at the tip. And I also did that for the front part. So we're just going to iron out every part that I've sewn, front and back, and also for the round sleeves area, just iron it out so it flattens. Alright, so let's go back to the sewing machine and join both sides together, and that's what I'm doing now. I mean, from the part that the 9 inches stops, I'm going to just sew through all the way downwards. I'm going to do this for the left side and for the right side. Alright, so I've closed up the sides, I mean the left and the right side. I'm going to now sew in my fringe. I'm working with this fringe material, or persons who call it tassel. I'm going to use my lighter to burn both edges so that it doesn't loosen on the fabric, or even before I start sewing this downwards. If you ask me for the length that I worked with, I worked with 77 centimeters long. I mean, the length of this fringe is 77 centimeters long. If I'm to do the conversion to inches, I would say about 30 inches long. So that's the length of the fringe that I worked with. Also, when sewing down your fringe, you have to be careful to ensure that you are not I mean the excess or the remaining part of the fringe is not going underneath what you're sewing. You also have to be sure that you're sewing on the right parts of the fringe. I'm looking at the fringe, there's the right part and the wrong part, so you have to look carefully to be sure that you haven't sewn through the or rather sewn this on the fabric on the wrong part. You also have to be careful when sewing. Don't sew too fast, so that the I mean this was weaved together, the place to sew on, it doesn't become fatter than what it is, and it just maintains the same width that has been created, which is half an inch. So I'm using this to seal up the part, so that I mean even the turning in that I did, the closing that I did for the tip of the fabric doesn't show, the sewing line doesn't show. So I'm using the fringe to also cover up, ensure that it covers up the line, the sewing line on the fabric. So while approaching the end, I measured it out and I cut that part out, and used the lighter to also seal that part up so it doesn't start loosening before I get to that point. So I'm going to pick up my lighter now and burn the edges so that it doesn't loosen, and I'm going to just seal that part up on the fabric. So I'm sewing this down now, trimming out all the excess fabric or excess thread on that part, and I'm just going to sew this down on the tip of the material, covering up the closing. And I'm going to show you what this turned out to look like, and voila, here it is. This is our Bubu dress with tassel or fringe, as you like to call it, with the high-low movements going at the bottom part of the fabric. I hope this tutorial video was as informative and enlightening as possible for you. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them down below in the comment section, and we're ready to take questions from you. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time for you to click on that subscribe button, and I'll be very happy that you've done that. You can also share this on your various platforms so that persons can learn a thing too on how to cut this. If you want to learn other things about how to cut a Bubu dress, I'll just drop the link for you in this video, so you can click on the link and learn other styles for recreating a Bubu dress. From me to you, it's bye bye. Keep creating magic. It's Saint Nightingale.